Hey gang, this is Bill Storm here. Super excited about our guest today, Dr. Beth Gracie. But before I introduce her and before we get started, I want to start with a really bold promise, and that's this. If you have an existing business and you're looking to transition it online, or you have an expertise and you've really been thinking about how to create more money, more meaning, more freedom in your life, and you'd like to start a new online business, you're in the right place, okay? And if you are in a space where you're in a career and it's just not doing it for you anymore, and you've got something else that you're super passionate about and you'd like to be able to take it online, again, you are in the right place. So by the end of this interview with Dr. Beth, I'm going to give you a few resources, and you're going to literally have everything that you need in order to launch a new business online and get it up and running in just 8 weeks, not 8 months. In 8 weeks, get yourself up and running. So today it's going to be really fun. We're going to be super inspired here by Dr. Beth's story. Okay, now make sure that you give me your full attention. I'm only going to need you for about 30 minutes or so. I'm going to try to keep this moving along. It's going to be just really energizing. I'm so excited about the things that she's going to share, because Dr. Beth is going to share her fears, frustrations, and desires, her wants and needs, everything that goes on in your mind before you're looking to make a change, okay? And then what she's going to do is she's going to transition that into how she did what she did. And the reason that this story is so amazing is she literally just started this online business with no previous online experience, no tech skills, just literally 20 months ago, okay? And we've been kind of following her journey along the way. It took her, I think, just under 12 months to be able to hit a 10K month, and now she literally just hit a 20K month. That it blows my mind. It makes me so excited as a coach and as a teacher to have someone who is so coachable and somebody who listens and follows through and puts in the work, because what she's been able to do is completely change her life. She's able to have more money in her life, right, for herself and her family, her husband and 2 kids. She's got more meaning behind her work now, and certainly now she's got the freedom to be able to do what she wants, when she wants, wherever she wants, and with whomever she wants. So I'm going to introduce her just in a second, but make sure you stay with me all the way to the end, because I'm going to give you a link that you're going to need. And I have an online blueprint. It's literally a 6-step plan that you can follow in order to go from 0 to hero, right, within the next 8 weeks. It's a complete online business blueprint for beginners. And I'm even going to include a power pack that has all of my worksheets. That's basically where you're going to put pencil to paper, and you're going to start to map out what your business is going to look like. Right? The key to being successful with an online business is clarity. You've got to get super clear up here in your mind so that you are building your business based on a really strong foundation and framework. And that's exactly what that does. So be sure to look for that link at the end. Okay. So without further ado, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask Dr. Beth to come on the line with us. She's going to share her video and give a hello.
Can you allow me to start my video?
We're almost there. We've got our audio, I think, just waiting on the video.
Says my host has disabled my video.
Well, let's see if we're having a technical difficulty. Maybe I need to make her a co-host. My bad. Let me see if I can do that.
Can you make me a panelist? There we go. There we are. Hi.
Okay, now I have an issue because I cannot hear your audio.
Uh-oh.
And I don't know if that's me or if that's you, but I definitely can't hear you myself.
Okay, let me see.
Let's do a quick check.
Oh,
okay, so Paul says he can hear you. I can't hear you, which is really, really odd. So that is totally my problem here. So give me just a second. I apologize for that. For whatever reason, that is not coming through on my end. So let me just check in my audio settings. I thought I had this all set, but apparently not so much. Okay, give me a shout and see if I can hear you now.
All right, now we good? Yeah.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Okay, see, that's the fun of technology, right? I got this new fancy camera. Totally love this thing, this Logitech camera, high def, and it's got microphone, and the clarity of the picture is great. But the problem is me, the user. Anyway, hey,
I hear that.
super excited to be able to hear from you today because this is literally our second interview. We did an interview a while back, which I was also super excited about because that was like your first major milestone. And now you're just hitting another one. So just real briefly, just give us a little bit of your backstory, where you started, what you were looking for, and then we'll transition into where you are now.
Awesome. So, hi friends, hi new friends. As Bill mentioned, I am Dr. Beth Gracie. My history is in pharmacy. So I did, 15, I think 15 years as a retail pharmacist, which meant they owned my life. That meant I was working 10, 12 plus hour days when they told me. So if I have a 10 plus hour day, I don't see my kids. I don't see my husband. I don't see anything. Other than the inside of this like box. And I don't eat and I don't drink and I am running around like a crazy person and getting yelled at by people who don't want my help. And like I go to pharmacy school, I'm like, I'm gonna change the world. And then I go to actual real life work and I was like, oh no, that's not it. And lots of years of that. And now I have a husband and now I have 2 kids and now I don't see any of them. And when I get home, I'm miserable. And it's nights and weekends and holidays and I can't plan vacations and I can't do any of the things that make me a nice, accessible, and lovable person anymore. And it got to the point where I clearly wasn't satisfied with that. And not just wasn't satisfied with it, but it wasn't acceptable for me as a person and not acceptable for me as a mom, as a wife, as anything. And I knew I had to make changes. I just didn't know what they were. And, at that point, I kind of had I'd always kind of toyed with, fitness and nutrition. And, that's always been a big part of particularly my stress outlets. And through my own health issues, which we don't need to talk about, but I have an autoimmune disorder. And the thing that helped me the most through that was food. And so I started researching that more and more. And as I started learning more and healing myself, I started talking with more people. And at that point, I was involved with, a kickboxing studio, and, we had collaborated on a couple of things, and I started doing speaking events. And that had morphed into, like, I have the power to help people in a completely different way with people who actually want to hear and value what I tell them. Mm-hmm. And not just that, but like can actually help them and have an impact. And then it got my brain going that like that unacceptable part of my job didn't have to be there. I could do this. I was good at this. I was passionate about it. My heart was in it. Except now I had to figure out how in God's name I was going to make money doing that. Mm-hmm. And then I went to visit Bill and was like, Bill, I can't do this anymore. What do I do? And here we are. There's my background.
Yeah, it's really amazing because I think, your backstory is similar to my backstory. You just get to the point where you had it, right? You're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I think that's what happens. Like your why has to be strong enough, because if your why is not strong enough, you're just not going to move the needle, and you're going to procrastinate, and you're going to wait for all the lights to turn green, which they never do, and you just don't get started. And the motivation is really interesting because your motivation is kind of the same as my motivation. You just felt like you weren't there, right, for your family. And I don't know about you, but I felt like I knew I had a lot more inside me than what I was doing.
Yeah, no, I was like a shell of the person that I felt like I could or wanted to be.
So our initial conversation, right, it was fun, initial conversation, because as you started to share some of the things that you were frustrated with, right, one of the words you used was dread, right? You said, I literally dread having to go in one more day and do the same thing with people that don't value me. You told me that in pharmacy, they were asking you to do some things that you weren't comfortable for in the name of profit versus what was good for the patient. And then of course the customers themselves just kind of beating you up, right? I remember that specifically. So, and you mentioned those, so those are your frustrations, but let's talk about a couple of fears, right? Let's talk about a couple of fears when you're looking at literally changing your entire life and transitioning to a completely different model. Let's talk about fear of the unknown for a little bit. So we all have the same fears, and obviously you were able to overcome them. So the fear of the unknown, what were you scared of?
Not making money. I mean, we're a two-person income, and pharmacy is a guaranteed paycheck. I was a salaried employee. I show up, and it was lucrative.
Yep.
We could pay all our bills. We were comfortable. If I left that's a whole lot less comfortable.
Yes. Yeah. So
right. And for not a potential of consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency. How do we do that?
Yeah, that's a scary thing. I started my own business back in 1998, and I was a little bit more crazy, right? I'm definitely I'm the person who will burn the boats. But at that point, I mean, my wife was pregnant with Sam, right, our first child, and she was about 9 months pregnant, and it was in my infinite wisdom that I decided that was the time that I was going to just go for it, right? Which was crazy. Obviously, I'm glad that I did. It was the best decision I ever made. But you have to be to that point where you're tired enough about the situation that you have, but not only tired of it, but also knowing that you've got responsibilities and there's things that you're going to have to be able to provide for your family. And you just know that there's no way you're going to do it unless you just cross the bridge and cut the ropes and you go for it. Have confidence enough in yourself to do it. But the fear-based part of the brain, right, is the primal part of our brain, right? The amygdala is literally set up that way to keep us safe, right? So we don't go and do something crazy. And while that's great, if you're being chased by a lion, you want that to happen, you want that to kick in. But sometimes it kicks in so hard that we stop ourselves from kind of moving forward. So fear of the unknown. Can I pay my bills? Will I lose my house? What if I can't make ends meet every month? What if it's up and down this roller coaster? How are we going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Is that about right?
And the sustainability factor of that. Like, maybe I have a couple really great months. Great. I'm only 38. We got a while, right? Like, I got kids in school. We've got tuition to pay for. A couple months isn't going to make it. Do I have the knowledge, the skills, the business savvy, the tech savvy? Do I have the resources and the right pull for people who I can delegate things to or pull in? And like, all of that overwhelm made the solution scarier than the current situation.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute then. Fear number 2 is, do I have the skills to go down this road, right? If I do this, do I have the skills? So I don't know about you, but when I got started, I didn't have any skills. I didn't even like computer games or video games when I was a kid. I had 0 tech skills. What kind of skills did you have getting started with us?
Let's see. I had talking skills. I can help people.
Yeah.
I have the medical knowledge. I have the nutritional knowledge. I have the science stuff. I got my science hat. I'm a good teacher. I have the talking skills. Yep. I have the emotional connection skills. I could go on Facebook. I didn't know how to set up a group. Yep. I didn't know I needed a group. I know nothing about marketing. I know nothing. Well, I didn't know anything. Let's say it that way. At that point, I didn't know squat about Facebook business. I didn't know squat about marketing, anything. I didn't know squat about sales. Like, I know we've had that conversation where, like, I know people who could be like, see that ice? You see it? And they would just buy it, all of it, just because that's what it was. And I was like, that's not me. I don't know what to do about that, right? Like, but all of the things that would keep a business afloat and sustainable, I didn't have any of that. I didn't even know what I needed to create it or be able to have it sustainable.
So 20 months ago, you knew nothing.
Mm-hmm.
20 months later, you turn in a 20K month.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, that's like, there's your round of applause. I hope everybody online that's listening to this is like cheering for you, because that's literally the hero's journey. And when I say the hero's journey, what I mean by that is you are the hero in your family's story. I mean, really, you are super mom, right? You're the person who's got it together. You take care of business. You manage multiple things going on at once. And you're still able to create something like this. So I hope that, this is one of those moments where somebody that's listening is going, wow, that's inspiring, right? No skills and still be able to make it happen. Let's learn a little bit more about how. Let's talk about another couple of fears though. How about fear of failure? Like you had mentioned in a
Oh.
text to me, you said, what if I fail? What's my plan B?
I didn't have a plan B. I left that pharmacy. I didn't have a plan B. Like, and the way that pharmacy, that industry was changing, like they were cutting hours, which is part of why like reimbursement was a mess and like all of these things. And I was afraid I was going to lose my actual pharmacy job in the first place. So it kind of became this like, this was my plan B in case pharmacy failed. But if I left that job, I could not go back. And so then what? Because I have no other training. So the then what was huge. It still is actually. But all that does is make me try harder. All that does is like different fire, because now it's my own pressure. Before, like I go to work, I have external pressure to perform. Now, if I don't do it, I failed my kids. If I don't do it, then I have to find another way. It's made me become resourceful in a way I didn't know that I needed to be.
Yes.
And resourceful and creative. And all that does is help the people that I work with even more.
Yeah, I listened to a speaker. Her name is Jamie Cross. She was super, and she was on stage and she was saying, "There's nothing more powerful than a soul on fire." And it gives me goosebumps. I got goosebumps a little bit just because I'm reliving, thinking about her giving that speech, and in the moment what I felt by that. Tony Robbins says it another way. He says, in order to take the island, you have to burn the boats, and sometimes that's what it takes. Literally, you have to just not have that plan B, because your why has to be strong enough, the meaning that you're looking for and the passion has to be strong enough, and you have to be put in a position where you must succeed. There's no other choice. You just must do it. And I will say this: if you're trying to enter in an online space and all you're thinking about is money, you're not going to really make it. But when you figure out what your calling is, like what you're amazing at, and what you just love geeking out on every day, because it's really just you in your own mind, right? Every single day getting up and getting at it. And unless you're truly inspired, right, you're not going to be able to sustain that. But if you are inspired, if your soul is literally on fire, right, you get up and you go at it, like you're 10 people, right? And it's just such a good feeling, right? And I think people, I don't know about you, but anytime I listen to any of your videos that you do, there's an energy transfer that I can feel, right? You can just feel this enthusiasm that's kind of like you're exuding, and that's attractive. And I think that's a reason why people start to follow you.
Try. Well, and that's the thing with like, I went from this, boxed universe where people came to me because their doctor wrote them a thing and I give them the thing, right?
Sure.
To creating the thing that people come to me for. And they're only going to come to me if there is a resonance, or if there is some sort of resonance between message.
Yeah.
And that's huge for me. And it, like, that difference between, they're going to walk into this grocery store that I worked at, like, I only have this tiny little group of people that I got to know. And now I have a client in Panama. I have clients in Canada. I have clients all over the US.
Wow.
And that remote space gives me an opportunity to meet people I never would have met and have an impact far greater than I ever thought possible 2 years ago.
So you got out of this little bubble and now you're global, right?
Global.
It's global, right? I mean, it's insane when all of a sudden you start to impact at that level, and all of a sudden, realizing that the number of people is almost infinite, right? That you could impact. So to be able to find enough people to want the thing, right, the product or service that you offer, all of a sudden seems ridiculously easy, right? I mean, there's just so many people in the world when you open yourself up. How about this one? How about family and friends? Did anybody come to you and say you're crazy, or what if it doesn't work? What are you going to do? I mean, do you had anybody, like, I call them crabs in a bucket, right?
All of them? You mean all of them?
So what kind of things do you hear?
So let's talk about my husband. My husband was my biggest, like, I'm sorry, you want to do what?
Yeah.
Like, you want to do what? And at one point, I think he was like, you're not allowed to talk to Bill for a little bit. Which, whatever, it's fine. We're fine. Everything's good. But he's military, right? Like he's regimented, he's a planner, he's like, he's conservative in all the ways, far more than me, clearly. And that was utterly frightening for him. Like, why in the world would I leave this guaranteed thing to do something that's so risky? And then keep in mind, I was like, all right, so I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to try it out. And so I kind of eased into it a little bit because I did have my pharmacy job. So I dropped a day. And then I substituted that day with my online business building. So I did have a little bit of give and take there. So I still was like actively having my plan B at the same time, which I know is not ideal for everyone, but I was able to do it that way, which actually, for the record, held me back from my online business because now I was even more tired because I was fitting this whole job in and this whole job in. So I wasn't all in either space, which made it a whole thing, which ended up having a bigger impact family life wise because now I was working twice as much. That's not answering your question. Back to the question.
That's good though. That's a key point though, right? It took you longer by sticking your toe in versus going all in and doing it, right? But you know, that's what we all go through because that is a fear. And you know, when somebody else hands us their fear, then it affects us too. I mean, that is what it is.
And I mean, that was the responsible thing for my marriage at that point too. Yeah. You know, because it was like, all right, I need to prove to him that this is sustainable. He can calm down when I can prove that this is sustainable. And for me too, like I can prove that this is sustainable. I can prove that I can have this impact, and that continues to snowball and motivate me to want to build that further and keep going. I have plenty of people still that are like, I cannot believe you left that job.
Yeah.
Still, like my best friends from pharmacy school, they're like, I cannot believe you left that job. And I'm like, yeah, tell me about your day. I work from 9 to 2. Yeah. I'm gonna go take my kids to the park. Well, not now, but you know, it's changed all the things. I went from getting up in the morning, bright and early, well, dark, because the only time I could do anything was before my kids got up, before I would get them ready for school, before I would throw them at school, rush to the pharmacy, get home after they went to bed, and then go to bed and do it again, right? And now I work half of that for more money than I did before. And even saying that sentence feels still unreal, but it is real. It's very, very real. And it's really cool to know that those tools are what allowed me to make that happen. And then I got to do that the way that made sense for my life.
Yeah. Yeah. What's funny is the way it starts is the initial fear, and this is a very real fear for people, is their fear is that they're going to get ridiculed from their friends and family. The last words you want to hear is, I told you so.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I've had a few of those in the time.
Yeah. But what's cool about it is once you do it, it moves from I told you so to, hey, will you show me how to do that? Right? That's how it moves. All of a sudden, you become that person that is larger than life to them. And now they're starting to ask you, hey, will you teach me that? Right? So that's I guess that's a prize in and of itself. Let's talk about one more. And this was a big one for me. Investing money, right? Fear of investing money and it doesn't work. Fear of investing money and it doesn't work. Now, me, when I got my start, right, I went to a conference like this. I'm just coming here to check this out. I'm not buying anything at all, right? This is they're just going to pitch me on something and no way am I going to do this. By the time I left there, I pulled out my credit card, $18,000. Now, if you want to talk about motivation to whether or not something is going to work, pull out $18,000 and then say to my wife, well, I just spent $18,000, but luckily I was halfway smarter than that. I actually called her first. And the good thing is she had enough confidence in me to say, you know what, if you feel it and you think you can make it work, then go for it. And the reason that she did that is because of past experience, in things that I've done in the past. But spending money, investing some money, not knowing what you're doing, and fear of losing money to get started, how did you feel about that? Like starting to invest some money?
I don't think I slept for like 5 days.
Yeah.
I also did not call my husband out of time. I didn't tell him till like a month later.
You can
But
get away with that.
it's petrifying.
Yeah.
It's petrifying because like that could have been my kids' tuition for school. That could have been a payment on my own student loans. That could have been all of these things, but it could have been the comfortable thing, which is what I was not. I was still miserable, but the only thing that did was make me more invested. Because if I'm going to spend this money, it sure as heck better not be a waste. I've wasted more money on dumb stuff, way more money on way dumber stuff. There are shoes in my upstairs closet that I have never ever worn and have probably been there since before my 8-year-old son was born. I've wasted way more stuff that I didn't use. And when I started it, my only goal was to pay back that initial investment.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only place I was. It's like, I have to do this. I have to pay off this initial investment. And I worked my butt off to do that. But when I worked my butt off to do that, it gave me all these other skills. Mm-hmm. And now I've got motivation. Now I've got my own history of what I'm capable of. And now I can expand that to know, like, this isn't about paying this debt. Like, now I have skills. Now I have the people that are teaching me the skills. So I'm not wasting 6 months trying to figure out how to set up a Facebook group.
Right.
I have that person who's already those steps ahead of me.
Right.
So I can be like, hey, I'm here. What do I do? Done. Right. I'm not wasting that time, energy, any more money, because I've got the resources right there. And it saved me from, that's how I was able to do it quickly, because I was able to spend the money on appropriate resources, right, instead of wasting my time and energy resources on nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do this. To be respectful of your time, let's transition. I want to share my screen. And what I want to do is I want to share with everybody this online business blueprint that I put together. And literally, I truly believe that is the fast track. It is the thing that you build the foundation and framework on. And far too many people skip by these steps, or they go by them way too quickly, and then it causes them problems later. And I'm going to show you something because it reminded me of something this morning. Let me just see if I can pull this up here. Might take me just a second. Yep, it's going to want me to connect to Google. I have to just grab this out of my Google Drive here. And let's see if this pops up. It's coming. It likes to think. There it is. There it is. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, good. All right. So here is the thing, and this got me thinking, right? This got me thinking. The way that I design this, it's almost like Candyland, right? So you follow these steps, and if you don't follow these steps and you skip one of these steps, you basically just slide right back down into the swamp. So I want to just kind of go through these, and I want to have you and just briefly touch on each one of these things and why these are so important, and what how these particular steps helped you gain clarity and kind of move forward to be able to create what you have now. Is that cool?
Yes. Can you, without me getting like super close, can you tell me what they are so I can answer? So I'm not like sticking my nostril in the camera over.
Okay. Yep, I sure will. Okay, so we're going to start up here, and hopefully everybody can see this okay. If you can't see this as well as you would like to, if you're watching this, don't worry, because at the end I told you I was going to give you a link, and I'm actually going to send this to you along with the worksheets that correspond with each of these steps. Okay, so just hang with me. So the first one, and I think this is so important. Early in my life, I focused on the things that I wanted in my life. But what actually helped me more to really clarify how my business model should be is I figured out the things in my life I didn't want. So by knowing what I didn't want, it allowed me to eliminate a lot of business models that I might have gone with to create the most simple one to help me get forward. So one of the things I know that you said is you just, you didn't want to be, working those kinds of hours anymore. So talk a little bit about the importance of this and the kind of things you didn't want in your life.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the absent mom. I didn't want to have to miss out on my kids' sports games or anything. I couldn't put my kids in activities. Like I could, but somebody else would have to take them, pick them up, watch any of that. I was going to miss out on all of these things. The schedule was huge for me. I was exhausted. I didn't want to be tired and not be able to be present for the people that I was working hard for in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Same exact thing with me. And I will tell you this, Sam, right, is literally going to turn 23 years old tomorrow. And I can proudly say that I have never missed a game, a school activity, or anything like that through our entire life, or with Billy for that matter, my son, who's going to be 20 this year. It was because I got to the point where I just decided what was unacceptable in my life anymore, right? That why is so big. Let's go on to number 2, because I know this one was a struggle. We talked a lot about this at the beginning. Get crystal clear on who your avatar is, who your customer avatar is, who is your ideal target market person.
Yes. Oh, the evolution of my avatar.
Yes.
Which I do think is important to share too, because the person that I had described to you, a year and a half ago is not the person that I serve now. There's been lots of trial and error, because as I was kind of describing those characteristics of the person that I thought that I identified well with, identifying well with that person is not the same as getting that person the result.
Yes.
And so thinking about the result that I'm trying to get for that person, my person changed. But basically I picked me because I knew how I helped me, the characteristic that I had, the fears that I had about that, the same thing where like the fear of the solution is bigger than staying the same. Yes. What those things were for me. And then that's where I started. And then as I learned that I didn't actually like working with that type of person, then I was able to become a bit more picky and start to really narrow that down even more.
Yeah, that's so huge. And I can't, if you can grab a takeaway, if you're listening to this, that is a huge takeaway. Same thing for me. My avatar is me. I'm just chapters ahead of who my avatar is, right? So I was looking for somebody who wanted more money, more meaning, more freedom in their life. They were stuck in a situation that they didn't like anymore, and they were motivated enough to learn, to be hungry, to put in the work, and to create a better lifestyle for themselves and their family. And they were just willing to do what it took in order to make that happen. So you're saying something very similar here, which leads on to number 3. You need to really know your customer avatar, their fears, frustrations, desires, problems. You have to profile them. You have to literally know them. So it's really interesting. Like when somebody asks me, well, who's your customer avatar, Bill, right? If I was to put a female face to my customer avatar, it's you, right? Right? That is, guys, Dr. Beth is my female avatar face. So if somebody talks to me about it, like I'm working with a professional ad agency now, and they're like, well, who is your avatar? Like, what's this person like? Because we can't really create a message that speaks to this person unless we know it. And I said, that's easy, right? So then I went on to identify and talk about my female avatar, my male avatar, everything about them in detail. And it was so cool because I put in all of this work, they're like, wow, that's amazing. This is like literally the first time where somebody knew exactly, who they wanted to target and why. So this becomes so important. And I don't know how many people I've started this journey with that don't spend enough time on here. They want to skip the steps, right? They want they want the elevator to the top. And Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite speakers of all times, he says, the elevator is out of order. He goes, you got to take the stairs. And these are the stairs. These are the steps that you need to take in order to be able to nail it on your first try. Let's go to number 4. Once you know that, you have to know how you're going to get that person the outcome that they want, need, and deserve. So what is your flagship product or service? A lot of people don't know. So what did you start with? How did you change? What is the thing that gets your your avatar the outcome that they're looking for?
So when I first started, I created a course, and it was kind of a self-guided, week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I started with this like 6-week thing, and then we would have like some check-ins. I very quickly learned that my avatar is not a self-guided person. My avatar is the person who needs one-on-one attention, who needs specific prompting, who has access to all of this information but doesn't apply it. And so that's where I started to learn that I don't need to provide information, I need to provide connection. And that connection is how I get my people the results that they're looking for. I work with emotional eaters. So I work with women who have inflammation, who have pain in all the areas, and it shows up as, for the most part, being overweight. So for them, they can read whatever. There's a bunch of free crap everywhere. They can read that. But how to apply that to their own needs is how I started to make that course content. And then gradually, as I was talking to more women and figuring out what those pain points were, I started to just create more content based off of those conversations. So with my model, I have, a set of modules, and, they give me a self-assessment of what happened in their week. We talk that through. Sometimes it's a phone call, sometimes it's an email, sometimes it's a little voice note. It's not always a huge thing unless they need that at that time. And then I direct them to those modules as it comes. And then I have a Facebook community of my client group. And then they rely on each other for that same sort of connection, where they know they're supported, where they know they have a safe space to celebrate and to ask for help when they need it.
That's great. So based on this product you've put together now, it sounds like you're doing a lot of things, but you also told me you're really only working from like 9 to 2. Right? So
yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good.
So I only have 3 days a week where I actually see clients.
Okay.
And I have a set block of time periods, and they schedule their appointment if they need it. If they don't need it, that's their thing, right? Or if they don't schedule it, that's their thing.
Right.
They have it there, they have it available. It's up to them. That's their self-motivated part. As if it's important to them, they're going to act like that, right? They've got this thing that they know that they can do. And if they want to further their success, these are the list of options that they have to be able to do that. So that's allowed me to have like a group touch point, once a week with my whole client group. And then, the self-directed things, and I give them homework, right? So every time that we have a touch point during the week, they know what they're doing from this week to the next. Okay. Because my people are very, very varied. They're varied in their goals, they're varied in their spaces, and, what is going to get them to that place. Those tools are different. So it doesn't make sense for me to have a specific, week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. It's much more customized for them. But that's evolved a lot over time. I'm just kind of using those same tools, those same resources, and just directing in a different way for my client at that point.
Okay. Let's hit the last two, and then we'll wrap up so we can let you go, because I know you're busy. The next one is, what's the one traffic source you'll measure? This is one of the things that I see that's huge with entrepreneurs. They have shiny object syndrome. They're all over the place, right? There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Snapchat, there's TikTok, there's LinkedIn, and now all of a sudden there's Clubhouse, and everybody's like, oh, Clubhouse, and they're all running over here to do Clubhouse, and yet they still haven't made any money yet. So one of the things that I think that is so super important is, when you know your avatar, you really know your avatar, your goal has to be to find out where they hang out. Where do they frequent most? They don't hang out all over the place. They usually congregate in one place, and that's where you have got to put your ad message. So what did you find for your particular thing? How did you narrow down and figure out, what your traffic source was going to be?
I asked a lot of questions.
Okay.
I've been very successful with organic Facebook marketing. That's been my biggest win that way. I'm not super advanced in the Facebook marketing world. First one to admit that. Consistency with organic marketing.
All this success organically, which means you didn't spend money on ads, and it's all been through Facebook, just with content and engagement. Yes?
Yes.
People, that's amazing. Okay, just so you know that, and we're going to need to know more about that. There's a lot of things you can do, but we'll get into that in a whole another chapter. But for those of you who one of your fears, frustrations, or excuses as to why you can't do this because you don't have a lot of money to spend on ads, this lady has done it without any. So that's super cool. Let's hit the last one. Okay, let's hit the last one.
That the research part of what I did with that is through that organic marketing. They didn't really know it was marketing. It was like market research. So it asked them, what's your favorite podcast? What book are you reading right now? What TV series do you like? I would ask them, what's your favorite piece of workout equipment? Are you a sweet or salty person? Who's your favorite whoever? And then I would take that stuff and then follow them there. So I would take those influencers and those would start to be my targets. Smart. I would join their Facebook groups based off of like Peloton or, whatever those things are that they told me. And then I would stalk people, hunt. That's a better word. I would hunt people within those Facebook groups and listen to those things that they were saying. And those things started to become keywords with my message and with my marketing.
Okay. So you asked what, instead of creating something first and trying to sell it to them without knowing if they actually want it, what you did is you asked them what they wanted first and then you delivered it.
Yep.
Genius. Okay, that is beautiful. There's another huge takeaway, folks, for you. So if your excuse is, well, I don't have everything together yet in my mind, great. That's exactly what you don't want to have happen because you don't know what your market wants yet until you ask them. That's called an ask campaign. Super awesome. Last one, conversion tool. There are a lot of different conversion tools you can take to move somebody from interested prospect to happy buying customer. What is the conversion tool of your choice that you are using? Is it are you giving away a free book using a funnel? Are you using webinars? Are you using Facebook Live? What are you using a group? What is your one conversion tool of choice that's worked great for you?
I have been offering free 5-day challenges, and those I offer a food empowerment challenge, which is a 5-day introduction to what I do. I sell nothing on there. They get a little live video in the morning with a little accountability task, and they get messages from me throughout. And then at the end of that, if they want to talk more, I give them an opportunity to schedule a one-on-one about their blueprint. If they're not interested in that at the time, I filter them into a free Facebook group, and it's just continued organic nurturing. And so then that helped me to learn like my buying cycle and how long it took for someone to actually trust me.
So the 5-day challenge, where do they hear about that from you? Are they inside? Have you invited them in your group? Is it on your personal page? Is it inside of somebody else's group? How does that go down?
It's usually through my personal page. Okay. And then that free Facebook group, I always invite them there. What's worked really, really well for me are my current clients, asking my current clients to share about that challenge, because now those people that they invite have buy-in, and then I'll run like little, who brought the most people, they get a prize, right?
Okay, and then on your personal page, what's happening is because you're actively involved in other groups, people are looking at your comments, things that value that you're adding, they're clicking through to your personal page to see who you are, and now they're seeing your stuff.
Correct. And the other thing that I do with that one is instead of saying like, I've got this 5-day challenge, here's the link, they have to comment for that link.
Yes. Okay.
And so I have to start a conversation with them, and then that brings them into my world.
Okay. So let's do this because I'm at about 45 minutes right now. What I'm going to do for those of you who are listening, I'm going to give you an opportunity right now to ask Dr. Beth some questions. But before I do that, if her story inspired you today, and you literally like to be the next success story, somebody that I interview where we can make a big fuss over you and what you've been able to achieve, I am going to invite you to book a friendly 15-minute chat with me, and let's have a conversation to see if and how I can help. Okay. And the way that that's going to happen, I'm just going to give you a link, and it's going to take you to a page where you're just going to answer a few questions about yourself. Right? So I can prepare for the call, get to know you a little bit, what your motivations are, so on and so forth. And then that will pull you through to my calendar, and you'll get to choose a time that's convenient for you. It's not going to be a sales call. We're just going to have a friendly 15-minute chat. We're going to brainstorm. Maybe I'll pull out my iPad like I'm doing here, and we'll scribble out some things on there to see, which path would be the best for you. And I'm going to give you that link here in just a second. That link that I give you is also going to be the link that you're going to use in order to download a copy of this plan, and then the worksheets that go along with all 6 of the steps, so you can really get clear and get moving in the right direction, okay? Then if you decide that you'd like to work with me like I did with Dr. Beth, right? Then what you'll be able to do is we'll work together for a finite period of time to start with. We'll work really hard together for 8 weeks, right? Because as I said in the beginning, I want to make sure that you're clear, that you understand who your avatar is, you understand their fears, frustrations, and desires, you set up your flagship product or service, you know what your traffic source is, and you know how you're going to convert people from interested to happy paying customers. We want to accomplish all that so your doors are open for business, like literally within the first 8 weeks, not 8 months, and certainly not 8 years, okay? So I am going to stop this share here quickly, and let me pull up this, see if I can do this here. Let's see if I can pull up this other share. All right. All right, so there's the link. Beth, can you see that okay?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, so the link's pretty easy. Oops, I forgot the H at the beginning. It's teamstorminnercircle.com. Okay, so just jot that down, teamstorminnercircle.com, not too hard to remember. And when you click on that, all you're gonna do is just enter your email address, and that is gonna take you to my questionnaire. You're gonna answer a few questions, and then once you answer the questions and hit submit, it's gonna take you to my calendar, and once you're on the calendar, you can pick a time that's gonna work great for you. Then what I want you to do is check your email, because in your email, you are gonna get a link that is gonna give you the opportunity to download the worksheets power pack and a copy of the blueprint. So that's where we're at with that. I'm gonna go ahead and leave that here just for a second, but again, it's just teamstorminnercircle.com. Let me go ahead and open up for questions. I'm gonna stop this share now. Okay. Get rid of that. All right, I can see your face. You can see my face?
Yep.
Okay, let's see. If you have a question, if you're online with us right now and you'd like to ask Dr. Beth a question, something that maybe is something surrounding a fear, frustration, desire, problem, challenge, obstacle, something in your head that you need to get clear, you might be able to ask her how she can get around that. Or if you want to ask her anything else around how she got started, go ahead and drop a question in now. That would be great. If someone wants to get in touch with you, I will say this. Your story is obviously inspiring, but what you do for people also is also absolutely amazing. So if somebody wants to follow you or they want to get in touch with you around what you do and what's your business, how should they do that?
Do you want me to pop it in the comments? You can go right to, you can find me on Facebook, which is, actually it's hyphenated. So let me give you my email. That's way better, which is Beth at BethGracie, GRACEY.com. And that's got the links to my free Facebook group and then how to contact me directly.
All right, I think I spelled that right.
Yep.
Okay, I think I did that right. Okay, so here's if you reach out, okay, and you check out her page, I would encourage you also to look at how she has things set up there and why she has things set up there. The fastest way for you to be able to get off to a fast start is to model somebody who's already doing it well. So you don't need to overthink this, right? If she's got a Facebook cover that's working really well and it links to her business and what she has to offer, do that too, right? I mean, that's the whole idea, is to be able to model what other people are doing. I've certainly taken a lot of arrows in the back, bumps and bruises and things like that. My goal was obviously to have you take fewer of them than I did, and then on down the line. So we're always paying it forward. We're taking our knowledge, we're sharing it with people, and by doing so, we keep refining and we keep helping other people. And that's, again, my favorite line from Zig, right? Zig says, You can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want, and that's what it's all about.
Got it.
All right, let me drop this in here. If
Do
you
you
don't
want
have
to pop that landing page address in there too?
oh,
The
sure. Awesome.
bethgracie.com.
Tell me again.
They can see the banner.
Give me the URL again.
www.bethgracie.com.
EY. There it is. Okay, so now everybody's got the links that they need in order to kind of move forward. Okay, so I kept you way longer than I should have, but I appreciate you hanging out here with us today. Again, super inspired. So happy for you. I hope your husband is okay with letting me back in the house again.
Oh, he's good now. Everything is great. You keep going, he says.
Yeah.
You keep going.
That's right. That's right. We just keep doing what we do, right? We're on the hero's journey and making it happen every day. So, yeah, super cool. All right. Well, thank you again so much. Be well, and I'll talk to you all soon. And thanks for everybody for tuning in today.